999,999 coffees. Glad you're here. So we've got a couple of folks we want to thank. We got to recognize Volusia County Economic Development. They take really good care of us. They help sponsor this group. Yep. And they help pay for this venue, which is one of the best venues you ever find as far as 1 Million Cups goes. This is Cinematique. They have movies, they have comedians, they have other entertainment going on, and you can rent the location too if you want to. But where's Jed? He's in the back. There he is. He takes care of us. So Volusia County Economic Development helped pay for us to attend here and pays for our coffee, and Jed takes care of us here. So what we're going to do, for those of you who are new, how many folks are new here? Any new? Nope, everybody's a veteran. So we're going to do a presentation here, and then we have Q&A, comments, ideas, questions, that kind of thing. I'm going to get right into it unless I missed anything. Your organizers here. So organizers for 1 Million Cups. All volunteer. We help put this together in advance. Val does a lot of the planning, the coordination. So Val is right here. Charlie is over here on the side. Carlos is out. Sean is somewhere else, and Casey is out. What's that?
Sean's on his way.
Is he on his way? All right. Well,
Somewhere else.
yeah, he's somewhere else. That's what we said, right? And I'm Tom Jordan. I'm going to turn it over here right now. We're going to get our presenter up here and have him tell his story and talk about his entrepreneurial journey. So without further ado, Jim Siddick, right? Jim?
Good morning, everybody. I did have a presentation that I put together on PowerPoint, but my computer did not cooperate with me this morning. So I'm up here kind of winging it, but just wanted to tell my story about my journey as an entrepreneur in this Volusia County area. I was born in Tampa, but I moved with my family, of course, when I was 4 years old to Ormond, and grew up here and went to OBMS and Seabreeze High School, Tomoka Elementary. And so I watched the community grow and change over the years and worked in a variety of different capacities around the area. My background was in accounting and became a CPA over the years because everyone constantly told me that you'll never make any money as a musician. So the things that I was always passionate about, everyone tried to steer me away from. So for quite a while in my 20s, attempted to go to college and would go for a little bit and determined that it really wasn't for me. Start a business. I started a restaurant in my 20s called Regent's Court Cafe in Ormond, and found out quickly that the restaurant business is a very, very difficult life, very difficult business to be in. If anyone's in it, you understand completely, or if you've worked in it, you know. But that journey kind of led me to watch who all was involved, of course, in all those different aspects of what goes on in any business. You have accountants, you have attorneys, you have landlords, you have developers and construction workers, everybody that's touching that business, and all the people that work for you. It's a complicated system of structure of business in general, but it taught me a lot. And then it also taught me to get back to college and get my degree. So I did end up getting a degree in accounting, and then went on and got my master's and became a CPA. But that entrepreneurial part of me, or side of me that was always there, just kept popping up. About every 5 years, I'd work a corporate job or something along those lines. Worked with Bank of New York and Lake Mary for many years. I was a staff accountant at the city of Ormond Beach for 5 years. So a lot of different journeys that I experienced, but then it always led back to me trying to do something entrepreneurially. And at one point, I was working 3 different jobs just because I enjoyed music so much that I would play in my band, which I am currently still playing with, called The Click. I don't know if anybody's ever seen us out, but I'm the drummer for The Click, but we have a lot of fun playing in the area. But I did that as a hobby, and it just kept being something I could not quit doing. Through couple different relationships where people did not understand that mentality of, you're compelled to play music, you're compelled to maybe have a creative side that you maybe not going to make that much money, but it is something you can't avoid. So at one point, when I was working as a musician, as a CPA, and doing a little real estate as well, I realized that something has to change because I have to have a life that really can fit what I want to do. And even though the challenges were there to try and make a real living with music, I had to figure out a way. Just by chance, I started taking guitar lessons with a music school, Elite Academy of Music and Motion. And the prior owner, who was a really nice guy, he's actually still with us, talked to me for many years about, would you ever want to take this place over? And then finally one day I said, you know what? It's time to make the commitment to what I always really wanted to do, which was be an entrepreneur, control my destiny, at least to whatever aspect I could, and play music and teach music to anyone and everyone. So about 3 years ago, I was able to purchase the business, which has been a real incredible journey for me. We have currently 15 instructors and roughly 255 students, but we are working toward expanding in a lot of different ways what we do. There's obviously always some challenges. We've, have many hats as entrepreneurs. We have to do, in a lot of cases, almost everything. We're also always trying to find the right people can help when they, whatever they can contribute. So when you're looking at what we have to do in order to market, social media, having a presence in literally video and YouTube and so forth is really important to somebody who does, music and has that web presence that really can show everybody what you do. We actually spent a lot of time working on this website, but it's in rough stage right now. We're still kind of working out some kinks. But we've developed this concept of we have the space to do a lot of different things. So we built a mini venue, similar to this actually, where we have a stage and we have lighting and sound, so we can actually do performances and so forth. And we've started also doing karaoke parties for kids and adults also. So it's a rentable space for anything you'd like to do, similar to this again. And we also, continue to expand the offerings that we have for students. We're starting group classes that will involve basically like a rock band experience kind of class. We have a youth piano class that's a group class oriented toward kids 4 to 10. And then as time goes on, the market for one-on-one individual lessons it's a very tight market. There's a lot of new competition in the area, and the competitors have their kind of mini regional aspects to them. Parents want to have, only so far they want to drive outside of the radius of wherever they live. So we're not really in competition, and we try to kind of share whatever expertise we have when we do meet each other in different environments. But as time has gone on, we just keep having different ideas of what we can do with our space, with our, with the offerings that we have. So we have a dance studio as well, so we have expanded into martial arts, which seemed like an odd pairing, but ended up being a very good thing for all of us, because now we have a really good cross-promotional situation, because we're doing yoga as well in the same dance studio. So now we have fathers and mothers who are taking the martial arts classes. We're working on getting a permanent yoga situation set up, so some of whoever would like to can go and do some yoga while their children are taking various forms of music lessons. So it's been challenging to try to come up with the technology, the expertise for that, and all the other aspects to what, again, every entrepreneur sees is this multitude of different hats you have to wear. But we've achieved a lot in the last 3 years, and we're really headed toward a lot more expansion into a lot of new things. Last year we took on another 2,100 square feet of space in our the strip mall that we were located in, and been slowly doing all the work building that out myself, which, you know, another challenge of trying to be a carpenter and other things that I try to do, you know, but it's, again, it always ends up that if it's something creative or something I can build or something I can do, I really enjoy it. It's just, I have to stop thinking along the lines I can do all those things and find some help here and there. But we've had a really amazing journey, and I think we've got a long road ahead of us of providing this to the community. My son joined me last year as my basically right-hand man. He is doing an incredible job, and without him, I really would be wondering where I'd be right now. It'd be very difficult to continue with the amount of responsibility there is there. So he took all the things over that I really did not like doing, and that really has allowed me to just keep throwing ideas out there, which frustrates him sometimes because I just rattle off ideas and I say, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and he has to figure out how we're gonna actually do it. So anyway, very positive and, you know, environment there. If you ever have an opportunity, please stop by. We're there every day, all day. It's located in Ormond Beach, but it's on the corner of Hand and Nova, in the strip mall where the Bamboo Garden is. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that area, but we're toward the north end of the plaza, and the swim school, I can't remember. Well, we have 2 locations, one on either side of the children's swim school, which was kind of an opportune thing for us as well. But thank you very much. And anybody have any questions?
Nice job. Jay. See if I can get this working. There we go. Cool. All right, everybody. You know what the routine is here. For those of you who've already been here, which is everybody. Val has a comment, question.
Jim, congratulations on your 1 million cups presentation.
Oh, thank you.
My son actually goes to his school, so he's been learning keyboard, piano, and he's just been enjoying it. I've seen Jim firsthand, like, you know, going there Saturday morning doing his carpentry, so I really appreciate that. And you guys need to check out the little speakeasy venue bar, right? That's there, right there. It's so beautiful. And I know you've done concert and events, so I just love this journey for you. And I really foresee that venue space as maybe like an after hours to maybe the Chamber of Commerce and all that type of stuff. And then you and I spoke about like maybe some food trucks behind, because again, you wouldn't expect, because it looks like a music school, but when you go inside, there's this really cool venue space. It's all decked out, and there's even some church pews. It's the way that you've done it, and now you've turned it into karaoke.
Yeah, we had 2 parties over the last 2 weekends.
Love it.
One for adults and one for kids. The one for adults ended up being about 6 hours, which was supposed to be 3. But,
Love it.
you know, they were in there having a good time, and we couldn't stop them.
Jim, I would encourage you to connect like with your chamber, and then you know Lori, so
Oh, yeah.
I'll turn the mic to Lori.
Hey, Lori McMullen with your Daytona Regional Chamber, and I've known this guy for almost 40 years. We graduated from high school together, literally seats away, stones and X, so he's one of the good ones. And I marvel at everything that you get your hands on. It's always successful. So I just,
Well, it's always
very
a good attempt at being successful.
No, you're awesome. And I would love to come see that venue, and then maybe you won't kick me out for 2 hours, so I have some karaoke myself. But yeah, we'll have to get in touch, so.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. One of the things that really is interesting when you hear an entrepreneur get up and speak, and you've got a financial background, so you make it seem like, hey, we're going to do karaoke now, and oh, hey, we got this space over here, so we're going to do this. Are there financial numbers that you're looking at the same time to say it makes sense to do this, or is it just, well, let's try it and see?
There's a multitude of ways to slice it up, and we always look at it from the standpoint of what can we generate from these ideas. You know, we've done it in 10 different ways of like, oh, well, we can have a per room, you know, cost benefit analysis kind of situation. How much can we earn from a room? And then we've looked at it from the standpoint of, you know, we have base costs that we just need to cover that, and then everything else is essentially profit. But, you know, every way we slice it, we have the space, we have the people, we have the, you know, really venue, we have the equipment, it's all there. At this point, I have to literally stop building stuff and just settle in and actually make some money. But, you know, something like the karaoke, we looked at it and we said, well, this is going to cost X amount of dollars for the equipment that we need. And the first 2 parties that we had covered about half that cost. So, you know, there are little things that we know we can just keep adding, that they have to make sense with what we already do. Timing is, you know, between having literally every week we have 255 kids and parents and their siblings coming through the door. So, you know, we're working on, you know, scheduling systems that really work. That's some software that we added last year. We're working on, you know, the interaction with our current customers with how do we get out messaging for everything that we do and we're adding. Getting traction with social media is so much harder than it once was. You know, it used to be you could throw some stuff on Facebook and you're going to get, you know, a pretty good response. Now there's such dilution in everything that you have to figure out what actually works. You know, there's a lot of time spent with that, but that's part of the reason why we've had to settle in and say, you know, the ideas are great, and my son says this to me all the time, you just gotta stop having more ideas. We gotta stop and make some money for a little bit, and that's it.
Hi, Heath Jones, Fractional Unit Marketing. Thanks for the presentation. So you sound a lot like me. When you get a space like that, I call it skirmishing, where you're just looking for places in the market and then see something that gets traction, and then you can put your resources in and penetrate into that particular vertical. I do think that this is an observation. The social media stuff is right. You know, it actually, if you have any kind of business on social media now, those algorithms are very well trained. You can't have viral moments. They want you to pay for it, but it's actually not expensive, particularly, you know, Facebook. Facebook ads are very inexpensive. I would recommend that you find a social media marketing person to be absolutely dedicated 100% to do that all the time, not something you do as an afterthought, put a plan together and then execute. The other thing is that sometimes the bread and butter isn't sexy, but it's the thing that pays all your bills. And when you mention karaoke, everybody likes to have a good party. It's the sort of thing that I would go to for a birthday or have a birthday event, even like weddings and stuff, you know, for the venue space. It seems to be antithetical to what you're doing with your Elite Academy branding. I don't expect to go and do karaoke at the Elite Academy. It doesn't feel right. So you might consider rebranding or having a brand that sits alongside it, and then dedicate some resources to that bread and butter stuff, to call it the karaoke room or the wedding room or whatever that you call it, and ring fence it from your Elite Academy side, because there's an old saying, you know, there are exceptions, but this is generally the rule. You market to everyone and you sell to no one. It's very, very important that you actually know. I don't know if you've ever done an analysis of your Tam Sam Sam as to what the actual market is for one-on-one musical. I know there's academies down in New Smyrna, and it's, you know, it doesn't sound to me like that is actually a very big market compared to the number of people that have a birthday every year, because that's everyone.
Yeah.
You can be marketing to them all the time. It isn't sexy, but it can pay your bills when you go after the stuff that, you know.
Well, we actually are splitting the business into 2 functioning businesses. So one will be a nonprofit, and that will kind of control the aspects of one-on-one teaching and group lessons and so forth, because that portion of it, we are going to begin doing scholarships. One of the concepts is to, you know, have a certain number of internal students that we can help support with their you know, financially with their needs for getting lessons. But then there's also, we want to reach out to we have several really good schools in this area that, college level, that teach music in a, you know, very advanced level. We want to create scholarships for those colleges as well. It's kind of, the mission is really on that side will be that. But then the other aspect of the kind of more for-profit business will be things like the karaoke parties, the backroom venue, where we use that a lot for other events and so forth. And rental space for bands, we're already currently doing rental space in that same venue. So there is some splitting of the ideas so that we can start to do a little more focus on one, and then, you know, jump back in on the other when we have the time.
Yeah, good. And one more question. Have you got any sort of strategy for music publishing?
So that is such a big undertaking. We are, you know, pretty much anything that, not to say that there aren't ideas that I haven't thought of, but we touch on so many different things and we go, oh, well, there's a great idea. We need to be publishing. We need to be putting out, you know, paid content on YouTube where you can have, hey, I pay a couple bucks for a recorded lesson. You know, those kind of things. We have several people on our team that have done things along those lines. They've created, you know, paid sites where they can, you know, teach lessons online. But we want to head in a direction where we actually produce music, produce content that's, you know, more of a paid, kind of a paid model through whatever media we can.
Yeah, I work with a very successful music publisher. I'll recommend them to you. It's something that if you don't have anybody in-house that's experienced, you should really outsource it. But it's a hidden little gem. You're going to get a couple of pieces of music that are licensed by somebody else, and that can have a very
Oh yeah, songwriting, you know, a lot of different things. That's one of the last things we're really working toward is a really functioning recording studio, with also the idea that we will have, you know, the capability of recording video for people who want to do things online, you know, whatever it may be, and rent the space as well for video blogging and things of that nature, creating our own content as well. We have a lot of great ideas. It just, at this point, the funding for some of those things will need to come from the nonprofit side of what we're doing. So we just kind of, my pockets are getting very, very close to empty, so.
Hi. Hello, my name is Jeff Murphy. Quick question, with your 255 people attending your school, do you feel like you're kind of topped out with your staff, or are you able to, your goal is to take on more students?
Well, so we have a way of kind of building it. When we find somebody who we want to bring on as an instructor, they generally are very high level musicians. We look for people who are educated, you know, officially educated, or have a teaching background, so that we are not, you know, I don't know if you've noticed, musicians are not always the most reliable people. You have to be very careful. It's we've had a couple situations. You know, they want to teach, but they have really no background in doing it. It's a completely different model. You know, jumping around on a stage and having fun. You know, most of the time it is fun, but there's a big difference between that and teaching a 4-year-old child how to play piano. You know, so we've really gotten very lucky with the people we're able to attract. But when we find somebody, we have to build their book of business with them. So we can't just, most of the time we don't have 20 students waiting in the wings, you know, to say here. So we actually had this experience many times where we say we need partnership really with you. It's not about us saying, hey, we're hiring you, you know, here's all your work and go teach. The people who have the most success, take 6 months to build 20 to 40 students, depending on what they're doing. And if they're really engaged, they need to help market themselves. We put out a post for them and say, hey, this is our new instructor, educational background, instruments that they teach. And it really helps when somebody helps us. Because the leads are very difficult to, we're not turning on the faucet occasionally. We wish we could, but we have certain periods of the year where they come in big waves, and that's just the routine of how it works. I actually taught at the school for 7 years before I bought it. So we're in year 9 or 10 now, and just watching that occur over and over again. August, it gets incredibly busy. December, it slows down. June and July, dies for a little bit. This is the first year we were able to smooth things out, and that's one of our other things, the cyclical nature of it. We have had some problems with how do we take a 20% drop in revenue every June and July. So that was part of the reason why the karaoke became, this is a revenue, consistently more revenue, that can come in. And things like that, we're trying to develop.
Okay, so where I was going was, you have these 255 people that attend your school. What about trying to utilize a referral network? Off of that, like maybe offering a discount to the person when somebody comes in and submits it. If they don't want the discount, they can give it to nonprofit, your nonprofit, yeah.
It's effective, but it's also another, we have these layers of so many things, initiatives, that we feel like we can't continually hit them with stuff, Oh, hey, we're doing karaoke now. Here's another email. We do have the SMS with our system, so that we can message for, related things with whether you're able to attend or we're closed today due to a storm or something like that. But we found that, there's a lot of just, people will shut down if you overstimulate, send them too many things, they stop paying attention. So it's a combination of things. It's a little subliminal. We have Opti signs running in the lobby, where we put a lot of our initiatives on, up on a very large screen TV so people can see it rotating through. And we, surprisingly, people will sit in that lobby for 2 hours sometimes, and you'll say, hey, did you hear about our karaoke? It's on the wall right behind you right now. And they're like, I had no idea you were doing karaoke. And that just happens over and over again. So it's somehow trying to figure out how to penetrate through, again, everybody receives hundreds of emails. I know I get 50 a day minimum of solicitation of some kind, hey, do you want this, to sell your home, this, that, or the other, and you stop paying attention. So we're thinking about doing some direct mail right now. We're gonna kind of throw some money at a few things and just see how it works, but that's where I'm shifting gear now. I'm getting out of the building and continually creating new stuff. I've got to focus on marketing and just figure out what works, because it's just so tiny little ways of trying to figure it out. How did I get that one student? How did that parent hear about us? Was it a referral? Was it social media? Did somebody just, talk about us at the gym or something, which happens more often than not. Plus we have, with the martial arts, the swim school actually next door, we have a lot of referral partnerships that are kind of loosely based. We're going to make more concrete. Yes.
So, sorry, Jen Rogers with Just PG Clean. I have so many things that I want to say, but I'll keep it super short. First, with you saying that you take a hit in December and in June, July, instead of saying, how do we compensate, or how do we, do enough throughout the year that we can take that hit in June and July, have you thought of doing, even if it's week-long summer camps? Parents are always looking for things for their students to do, or for their kids to do during the summer and during Christmas break. The average parent can't stay home and watch their kids, so if you had something to fill that time where they could come, you've obviously got the instructors and can fill the day probably with stuff. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, we actually have, one of our instructors was from the Dallas area, She's a master's level choral instructor with a background in administration and school administration. So she's a superstar, and she has an entire, I mean, every single aspect of a camp program set up. But when we were in the planning stages, she had to let us know that she was expecting. And so she was leading that, and we really weren't prepared to take it on our own.
Yeah.
So it's on the back burner till next year, but we have already recognized that is the number one way that these schools survive or smooth out the year is through camp.
Right.
Camp and group lessons.
The other thing I was going to say is you were talking about emails and how it gets lost in the emails. What you do is a very personal experience. You're teaching their children. Have you thought of just getting on the phone with them and telling them about the referral? It's a phone call. It's way more personal, or even handwritten notes if you're going to, instead of doing a postcard, just to the people that you already have, reaching out to them because they already obviously love your school and they love everything that you're doing.
Well, one of the things that, it's a slight advantage for some of the marketing aspects and exactly what you're talking about. I do real estate as well. And my fiance, she's much more of a realtor than I am. But we have been to several of these conferences where the whole thing is marketing. We do marketing conferences for real estate. There's a lot across, in this industry. It's very similar, like how do you prospect? How do you find people? What do you do? The handwritten note thing is a big thing with real estate. We've talked about it many times. Me sitting down and doing it is the hard part. But my son, which I'm going to throw this one on him again, he was in a managed accounts for a large office supply company. And his entire job with what they did was call all day long. He called his existing clients, he called prospective clients, he called, random businesses. He just did it all day long. He's really good on the phone. He's been told that I really hope that he'll do this for me, but we do want to call, somehow engage without overwhelming them. Hey, we've got these 10 new things. Well, let's keep it to 1 or 2, and maybe in a month or 2 we'll call you back again.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say, and I won't take up any more mic time, is more of a statement coming from somebody who owns a business and who is the visionary of the business. You have to really dial in what you're going to focus on. And I know you just said handwriting is not something you want to do. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to do the hard things. So until you can afford to sub that out, until you can afford to hire somebody, you just have to bite the bullet and you have to sit down and do it. If you truly want it to grow and you truly want to bring in, you've got to be the one with your boots on the ground. So much marketing now has returned to, everybody is just buried with digital marketing. It is.
Yeah. They're turning a blind eye to it.
Yeah, you drown in it. It's back to knocking on doors, it's back to door hangers, it's back to calling people, it's back to handwritten type stuff. And at some point you may need to just bite the bullet and do it and do time blocking where you just, for an hour, focus on that.
Your boots on the ground statement is exactly what I say to everybody that comes into our little marketing world. There's nothing better than going door to door. And I will occasionally just walk into a business around the area and say, we've got some synergy, with what we do. Like there was a tutoring company that is nearby us. It turned out that she was an incredible, really high-level business person that was running a tutoring company. And we got a lot through her, and we just brainstormed with a lot of different stuff. But that, I've done that probably 20 times or so, but I could do it all day long, because when you make those connections with people, they all have great ideas, they've been through it, they know what's happening, especially if they have that similar background to what they're trying to accomplish. And we keep, again, my next phase is to settle down and just market. And
Hey, Zach Cox, Workspace Collective. I just had a quick thought. You have all these kids that are coming in to take lessons, and kids these days are all over social, right? Not the super young ones, but at a certain age. What about some sort of program for them to start posting on their social media, like some sort of program with them to post, like sort of a day in the life of, or what the lesson sort of looks like, to sort of handle those posts for you? to sort of organically grow some of that. I thought that might,
So we have some of these ideas as well,
Yeah.
but not to say that I, again, know everything, but
yeah,
you know, it's a little tricky sometimes with permission, parental permission.
I get that.
Obviously, we like to film our students being given lessons and so forth.
Yeah.
So we walked through that a little bit, and that's a great idea. We
Yeah.
also thought about it from the aspect of, wouldn't you like to post something of you playing your instrument or something along those lines? We have to kind of refine it and figure out if there's any legal, there may be a little legal stuff that we have to be careful with,
Yeah.
but I would love it, the engagement from a bunch of children putting stuff up there, showing themselves on their instruments is the best thing you could ever have.
Oh,
You know,
100%.
parents react to that, that's why we have a lot of this in our new website. We're trying to say, look, this is what we do, but that's the easiest content we could ever provide, which is why eventually we're gonna have every instructional room is gonna be a smart room.
Love
With,
it.
the capability of recording and broadcasting everything we do. That's what we hope we can get to. There's some things we have to kind of figure out what the parents are gonna think, but how can we make that functioning, organized? Honestly, when we get to that point, we really do need like a dedicated social media person that's on staff. We have someone now, they're an entrepreneur of themselves. They're spread so thin doing what they're doing that they can't really get the traction for what we need. We need more. We need a lot more.
I get that. The only other thought I had real quick was, this area has lots of after-hours events during the day, and everybody loves having live music. Depending on where these students are in their progression, that might be a good opportunity to partner with local businesses or the chamber, whatever, because, if you can have some students play at some of these events, they may not all be the right place in their learning, but it might be an opportunity to get the name out too.
One of the things that we put the word out a little bit to some of the nursing homes and so forth, because you see musicians in there, playing for the folks there.
Yeah.
We offer that to our instructors a lot, because some of them we have concert pianists that work for us that are insanely good. They could walk in and play a full concert for people, drop of a hat. Plus we have 6 bands rehearsing at the school now that just went in space, but we have 2 bands internally. My fiance, who's essentially a realtor, but she's the lead singer of a band. So we have these opportunities. We keep saying we should leverage the bands with the school, but I have to talk them all into that. So I'm going to put out all my material for the school, and they're like, oh, great. So now we have to market for you. But, a lot of times it's just that's the mode they're in, and they're not entrepreneurs in that sense. And so hopefully one day I'll get them to buy in. This is good for you too.
And just so you know, we're not just covering Daytona, we cover the whole region, so we'll have to have a discovery visit where I come and check out to see if there's some good synergy. But actually, in my comment, not putting Captain Danielle on the spot, she might know more about this than I do, but if your model includes at some point, like open mic night karaoke or something that the public can come to, not just a curated private party, and you may not go that route, you very well may be able to get some no-cost, like a profile and whatnot through the Daytona Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, because you're an attraction for tourists. You probably already knew that, but again, I know enough to be dangerous, but that might be another way to get some no-cost
So
churn out there.
we have a lot of adult students too, so there's always been this, let's have an open mic, and we do it occasionally. One of the things that we would like to do, we're slightly starting to partner with the Daytona Blues Society. They have a lot of members, and they need space occasionally where they would just want to do an open jam. We're probably going to end up doing something with them where they can market it with us, and they'll have a built-in number of people who will want to do it and come. but it would be open to the public. And, you know, so it's a little bit of just recognizing it's there, and that the word has gotten out a little bit, because I'm getting random calls now. Hey, I got a band, can I rehearse there? There's a gentleman that had been doing that for about 6 months now, and he said, well, you know, I'm running this like an open mic. He goes, I just tell my friends and other musicians, and he said 7, 8, 10 people come every time we do it. And I said, because I'm not there. I don't want to be there all the time. But, you know, that's kind of another aspect of things that we're like, the space is there. You know, people want to play music. They want to have opportunities, maybe if they've never done it, to sit in and have a good time. So, you know, a lot of these open mics around town, I don't know if you've ever been to one, but when you go and, you know, it's interesting.
That's the word.
So, you know, I mean, we all have fun with music one way or another, no matter what level. So, you know, we just want to have people have fun, you know. Kids especially. I'd like to have an open mic for kids specifically. That's why we started doing the idea of the rock band experience. Hopefully it's going to lead to something like that. The School of Rock is a franchise now, and it's $150,000.
Elite Music School of Rock.
Yeah, we're going to have our own. We don't
Yeah.
need that.
You put your name on it, now it's yours.
Yeah, we'll
I just have a comment. Alexander with Progressive Medical Research. I am a former musician and in the school system in my past life. I just really think that your audience are students. And if you can connect with the school system, back in Texas, at the beginning of the school year, there'd be a big celebration for open house that the kids can meet the teacher. I saw you guys on the rooftop this past weekend. The clip is amazing.
Oh, nice.
If you could say, well, you know what, we'll perform for a little back to school event for the parents, and then they give you that opportunity to say, hey, if you enjoyed this, let me tell you about ourselves. Because you could do that for the high schools, the junior highs, and elementary. And if not, you could also rev up your camps that way. Because where I come from, they are on a wait list and lining up to get
Yep.
into these camps.
I've been
Well,
convinced.
the camps, we've already, literally, that is next year's biggest project. Because we have the blueprint built, it's all there.
But you have to
And-
start advertising now.
Yeah.
Like get them a buzz going. And if they hear you, it's the parents you're gonna talk to, and they're the ones who are gonna say, you know, I need this for my kids. And they wanna develop them, because you can talk about how it develops their brain and how it, you know, makes them more responsible as they have to juggle their time. But then they also like you, and then you fill up some time that they don't have time for, you know, because they're working, right?
Yeah.
So there's a whole, I mean, you can fill up your whole school just with the schools.
There's a little bit of gatekeeping with a lot of the school system in the area. Not to any significant degree, like we can penetrate that. But one of the things that has changed in the last 2 years, the band directors were not allowed to give referrals to private, you know, instruction. That is now, I guess they changed the rule, and they're allowed to refer people to, mostly because the school systems are having their programs cut left and right. And, you know, it's been a little, you know, very targeted at certain points, like the OBMS lost their string section. They weren't allowed to have strings anymore, which seems kind of ridiculous, but what ends up happening is that leads to no one coming through the system in public school to support the next orchestra at Seabreeze High School. There's nobody who's playing, you know, to some degree, unless they're going for private instruction. And so one of our things this next year is also to start a youth chorus and a youth orchestra. But we have to get the nonprofit status for that. It's way too costly, because we do make, obviously, some revenue through it, because You need the group sessions, you need the private instruction. It kind of builds the business, but it also, there's a lot of expense with paying instructors hourly versus paying them for their instruction time. We pay them based on giving lessons, but when they have to commit to, hey, we're gonna have 2, rehearsals a week with these kids, and, yes, you'll get some private instruction doing it, but we have to have probably a staff of at least 5 to 10 people to run either of those programs. So that's when, again, I have to stop all this extra stuff and market, go into the schools, tell them what we offer, tell them what we're gonna be doing, and get them rolling.
Very cool, very good. So we got one last question before we wrap up the day here, so we all get off out to work. And that one question is, we got a bunch of people here today. What's the one thing that the 1 Million Cups community can do for you as we leave out of here?
Well, I mean, basically spread the word. Word of mouth these days. In the community, I think people are, trying to find something to give themselves some substance to their life. A lot of kids these days go to school. There's no shop anymore in a lot of schools. Their opportunities to do these things are disappearing. And I think people are looking for things to really give themselves a feeling of confidence, a feeling of accomplishment. Even if they're not, the best drummer or best guitar player in the world, it feels good. It's something to achieve or strive for. And a lot of people need that. And I think the word of mouth is really where everything comes from. Like you said, social media is diluted to a point now. It's so specific. You have to really work at it. It's super hard to get anything out of it. But the door-to-door, talking to a neighbor or a friend or another business owner is where we build the community these days. And we consider it a community. It's not, especially when we get to the point where we're providing scholarships and so forth. We're providing something to the community versus it's a business for profit, which it is, but it's more of a compelling idea than just I need to make money. It's how we want to give people joy, really.
There you go. There you go. Let's give them a big round of applause. Hey, we're going to bring up the lights. We're going to do the